Hello and welcome to Elevate Your Wealth. I'm your host, Casey Elkins, co-founder and managing partner at Elevated Financial Management. We've got a really exciting show today. We're talking about advice that retirees wish they knew before they retired. So this concerns you at home. As always, I'm joined by Marc Stimpson, my friend, father-in-law, and business partner. How you doing, Marc?
I'm doing really good, Case. Again, pretty excited about the show that we're going to have today. There's several topics that I think the viewers are going to be really interested in. These are things that sometimes don't get thought about enough or discussed enough, but boy, when you're thrust into that situation and you finally pull that parachute lever and you leave work, these things can affect us mentally if we're not talking about them and preparing for them just a little bit.
That's it, right? And these are things where people have made mistakes and they look back, right? Hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah.
But in the moment, we see sometimes people think they know, or think, of course, they think they're making the right decision, but sometimes it doesn't always work out like you planned. And a little bit of planning, right? A little bit of the right advice and putting something together, a written financial plan is what we really believe can set you down the right path. So let's start with our first one. I think this is great. How can someone be mentally prepared to actually leave their job? So this isn't really a finance question, Marc. This is more so an emotional question about retirement. So how can someone be mentally prepared to actually leave their employment?
Yeah, and I love this question or this thought, because when we retire, a lot of times what we think about is we're retiring from something, a career of 30, 40 years or more. But what we're trying to help our students and our prospective clients think about is, why not look at it as retiring to something instead of from something? And we're finding that the clients that do that are so much happier, because I want to tell a quick story. We had a client that came in, we got a plan set up for her, and I'll never forget, about 2 weeks later, she came back in our office and was really concerned because she realized it wasn't what she thought it was going to be after only 2 weeks, right? And she was saying she didn't realize how much of her life was tied up socially from her work and her friends at work. So when you leave those, that whole network goes away, right, for the most part. Sometimes you might be fortunate to keep relationships going with people you've been working with, but not always. And she found that to be a struggle. In fact, she came in to talk to us about this, and we've talked about it now for a couple of years, because it's a problem that I think more people are going to have that don't really think about this, and then face that simple fact: when they retire, what are they going to do? I think that's critical to think about when you're getting ready to retire.
I absolutely agree. I think you're right. It's very important, right? And ultimately, it's probably more important than the finances,
yeah,
right?
I believe
because
that too.
The finances, although important, are really there secondary to support what you want to do, not the other way around. And I think sometimes people get caught up in this idea that it's all about the return on their investments, and they start to kind of compartmentalize their finances from their emotional life or what they're doing outside of their finances. And really, the finances should support your life, not your life supporting the finances, right? And so that's so important to make sure. And I love this idea too of retiring to something, because it's forward facing, right? If you're moving forward, but you're kind of looking back all the time, you're always going to be disappointed about what you left behind, right? Because we have a way as humans, right, to be positive people and to think about the good times and all the great times you had with your friends at work and the things you did and what you enjoyed. But if you're not looking forward to what comes next, what's exciting, what you're looking forward to the most, you're going to be disappointed, right? Looking back at the good old days, right? That kind of
exactly.
thing. And so we really want to be moving towards something, have a goal. And so with that in mind, we see people missing out. That kind of pulls us into the next thing. So if somebody, after they've left their career, what can they do? What can they look forward to? Perhaps we have a viewer at home that's really just been focused on the finances. What can somebody at home do to be able to retire to something? What does that look like?
The interesting thing right now that we're seeing is we've got clients that are really going into what we call a hybrid type retirement, where they are not going to, they've quit their main job, they retired from that, but now they want to keep busy, right? So they find a wonderful hobby that they love. They get involved in that. What about maybe volunteering at an organization that you love, or you have a deep concern of wanting to help that organization? Or what about, maybe for me, I love Home Depot, okay? And I would work there and I would enjoy that, helping people figure things out about their house. So that's, I think, really critical, to find something that you enjoy doing, and then it's going to help you. We realize it helps them stay young, right? Mentally active. People that just retire and then they stay at home and they watch TV, or they think they're going to play golf 5 days a week, and that ends up working out for a couple of weeks, and they never really planned out how important the social activity that they need. All of us that have social needs, which I think is pretty much every human. Now, some people are more loner than others, right? I know I'm a social person, so I love being around my friends most of the time. My wife, a little bit more the opposite. She's a great homebody. So again, everybody's situation is very unique to them, but I think you need to think about this, because if you don't have a plan for this, it can get very discouraging very quickly, and we really are seeing this, and we want to help our clients plan for this.
Yeah, it can be a real disappointment, right? There's kind of all this buildup, and then suddenly you retire, life changes just instantly.
Now what?
Now what, right? And we see people that feel aimless, right? They kind of feel lost almost, and that can be really frustrating and disappointing. After you've worked 40 years to build and save for retirement, and these are the golden years, and if the emotional aspect of it, or what you want to do in retirement, isn't planned out, that can be a real letdown. Now, I got a big smile on my face when I pictured you walking around Home Depot with the big orange smock on. So maybe one day we'll have to make that happen. I'll walk in, and there you'll be in the lumber department helping me out, huh? Yeah,
exactly. And I'm good with that, right?
Yeah. No, that's great. And I think that's it, right? To know what you enjoy. That's the biggest thing, I think, that maybe the takeaway from our time here today is, what is it that you enjoy, that you want to do in your retirement to make that a success? Whatever that is for you, that's okay. For some people, it's working part-time into retirement. For some people, it's traveling the world. For some people, and this is a direct quote from a client of ours, it's sitting at home and watching the grass grow. But that's okay. It's whatever it is that you'd like to do, and that's the point. It's really about your retirement. So you see the number there on the screen, 844-342-7142. This is your opportunity to get a written financial plan built specifically just for you. We will sit down and talk about how we're going to create income for you, what you want to do in retirement to make sure that the finances fit you instead of making your life fit your finances. We'll also talk about timing Social Security, what the right choices are for Medicare, and there's lots of other things we haven't even discussed today. So pick up the phone, give us a call, 844-342-7142. You also see the QR code there on the screen. You can scan that and set an appointment with us as well. Don't change the channel. Come right back to Elevate Your Wealth. We're going to talk more about things retirees wish they knew before they retired, and much more. When markets are up, risk feels great. When they're down, it can feel terrifying. That's why having a clear view of your risk tolerance ahead of market changes may support more informed decisions. Our risk quiz is a quick, easy way to find out what your current sentiment is towards risk and if it aligns with your retirement goals. Most people have no idea how much risk they're actually taking until it's too late. Are you more conservative than your portfolio, or taking on too little risk to grow your savings? The quiz walks you through a few simple questions and gives you a risk score you can compare with your current investments. This could be one of the smartest steps you can take to bring clarity and confidence to your retirement strategy. Scan the QR code or go to elevatedquiz.com and take the free risk quiz today. Did you ever think your own retirement would be shared with the government? It's true. Your 401k, IRA, pension, or other retirement accounts are in partnership with Uncle Sam. Simply put, they want their tax dollars, and you have them. With our latest tax calculator, you can plug in your own numbers while sitting at home. To see what your tax liability to Uncle Sam could be, scan the QR code or go to taxbillseattle.com. Hello and welcome back to Elevate Your Wealth. I'm your host, Casey Elkins, joined by Marc Stimpson. We're talking today about advice that retirees wish they had before they had retired, things they wish they would have known. We just discussed retiring to something, making sure that you're looking forward as you move into retirement. And then our next piece is that there's 3 phases to retirement. There's the go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years. So how do we make the most of those go-go years? And Marc, I'll pitch that to you. What can somebody do to go for it in retirement?
Yeah, and this is something we love to talk about in our office because so many people come in and they talk about taking the trip of a lifetime or maybe buying the car that they've dreamed about for years. They were going to get that right after they retired. And all I want to say to that, it is time to go for it, right? Because once the health changes and it goes from go-go to slow-go or possibly no-go, and that's happened with some clients recently, right, that we had all set up, and they have a terrible medical situation they're dealing with right now. So we would tell you, let's go now, right? I try and help our clients to realize, let's make memories with our children, our grandchildren now. Don't leave just a pile of money on the back end, right, when we're gone. Why not try and do that now? So we're believers in doing that with our clients. That's why it's kind of important how the money is set up, right? Do we have more maybe at the beginning of the retirement versus at the end? Again, it's about a plan and being balanced, but we are big believers in having our clients enjoy things while their health is good, because it comes fast, you guys. I think we all realize that. I know I do. And I want to do things with my children now, and I don't want to wait until it's too late and have regrets, right? The pain of regret is, not something I want to think about or have to deal with, because I was worried about spending money because I thought I would run out, right? And with a true plan, that's not going to happen, right, if it's set up the right way, and you can have all the fun on the front end that you dreamed and worked for.
I think that's it, right, is that ultimately, and I think it's just something that all humans do. I do it myself, where I always think, well, I've got time to do that tomorrow, right? I can do that next week. I'm going to get that done, right? And then suddenly that day goes by or that week goes by and it isn't finished. And it isn't because of procrastination. Life is just busy, right? And so if we don't take the time, and I love this idea, to go for it in retirement, we might miss out on what we've been working so hard for. And that's exactly the opposite of what we want for our clients, and of course what they want for themselves, right? Is to make sure that they can go live and do what they want to do in retirement. And so this kind of ties us into our next point, right, Marc? So if somebody doesn't go for it in retirement, right? If they don't take advantage of the go-go years and get out there and get things done, they often end up living a less than retirement, right? And ultimately, part of the reason that maybe they're not going for it is because they don't have a plan. They don't know if their money's going to last. They don't know how to take the income, how to be tax efficient, all those kinds of things. And so how can somebody avoid living a less than retirement? Yeah,
and the funny part about this, Casey, I think a mindset that begins to happen to people in this scenario is they're so concerned about the what if. What if this happens or that happens? So they tend to not do anything because it really causes paralysis, right? They're so worried about running out of money because of exactly what you mentioned. They don't have a plan. So the what ifs never stop, and it's central in their mind. And so if that's your mindset, please give us a call, because we're going to help you to realize that it doesn't have to be this way, right? And the what ifs, we want them to go away. And it's time to go for it. It really is. We want you to enjoy retirement, because this is why we all work so hard. And my grandfather on my mom's side died 6 months after he retired. He had a nice nest egg, but he didn't get to spend any of it. And died shortly after he retired. And we see that with clients, or the health changes. So please, don't let that be your scenario. Don't be afraid that you're going to run out of money, and that keeps you from doing what we all want to do with our children, our grandchildren, or maybe our spouses, just because the what if I get Alzheimer's, or what if I have a stroke, right? You're right, it could happen to any of us, but if we live our life that way, it's going to be a disappointment in retirement, right? And we don't want that for our clients.
And I think that's something that we all do from time to time. We all play the what if game in our minds, right? And probably unintentionally, right? It's not really purposeful, but it's anxiety showing its way into our minds, right? And so we play this what if game. What if I run out of money in retirement? What if I start Social Security at the wrong age? What if I don't pick the right Medicare plan? Those are the kinds of things that we see people worried about, right, as they're moving towards their retirement. And I think what it really boils down to is with the right type of planning, that's what a plan is supposed to do, is solve those what ifs, right? So oftentimes we see people that have saved $1 million, $2 million, whatever it is, and they just kind of hold on to this big bucket of money and they don't give the money a purpose, right? Yep. They're worried about long-term care, and so they don't spend the money just in case they need it for long-term care,
exactly.
right? They're worried about running out of money, and so they don't spend the money so that they don't run out of money in the future. And so if we allocate money the right way, right? If we take that bucket of funds that we've saved and we allocate a certain portion towards creating income and a certain portion towards solving long-term care, and we know what we need to cover our medical costs, and we know what we need to take those trips, we can go live that life without having to be worried about the what ifs. I always like to play the opposite game. Instead of what if it all goes wrong, I like to say, what if it all goes right?
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that's it, right? We have to be able to talk ourselves out of those type of scenarios, because that can really be a big letdown and drag down what you've worked so hard to create in retirement. So, Mark, the number's there on the screen. Would you let the listeners at home know what they can expect if they give us a call?
Yeah, if you've saved $250,000 or more, we're going to help you bury the what ifs. If you're concerned about taxes, if you're concerned about what should I do as far as when to claim my Social Security, what about moving money to our children or grandchildren? What do I do with medical expenses? Do I go on a med supplement plan or a med advantage? Let our team of financial planners put together a plan based on your specific situation. And if you come into our office, you're also going to get a copy of our book, Break the Glass. That book can be read in probably 45 minutes to an hour, and it will share with you in written form everything that we're talking about on our show today. So please pick up the phone, call 844-342-7142. Again, that number is 844-342-7142. Give us a call. Let's just have a conversation. Keep the checkbook at home and let us help you put together a retirement plan that will make your retirement a total success.
Thank you very much, Mark. Again, for our viewers at home, you see the number there on the screen, 844-342-7142. You can also scan the QR code, and that'll take you to a spot where you can book an appointment with us as well. When you come in, we'll do that complete written financial plan. We'll talk about all the things that you hear on our show, and you'll get a copy of our new book, Break the Glass, which we're really excited to share with you. Don't change the channel. Come right back to Elevate Your Wealth. We're going to talk about, do you have enough money to retire? Making sure that you're a success in your retirement.
Call 844-342-7142 for your written financial plan and inflation report. Inflation continues to hit all-time highs. Will your investments provide you the income you need in retirement? Are you losing purchasing power of your savings to inflation? Don't let runaway inflation erode your retirement dreams. Now is the time to act to be certain you have an income strategy that overcomes the effects of inflation. Call Mark, Casey, and their team at 844-342-7142 for your no-cost financial plan with Inflation Report. You might have the savings you need today to weather the storm, but how will inflation affect your nest egg 5, 10, 15 years from now? Discover the peace of mind you deserve. Call Casey, Mark, and the team at 844-342-7142 for your no-cost written financial plan with Inflation Report, or use the QR code to schedule your appointment today. Are you taking too much risk with your retirement, or not enough? Most people aren't sure. That's why we created the Risk Quiz. In just a few minutes, it helps you understand your personal risk tolerance. Your risk score could reveal why your current investments might feel too aggressive or too conservative. It's simple, fast, and can be eye-opening. Scan the QR code or go to elevatedquiz.com to take the quiz and find out if your money matches your mindset.
Welcome back to Elevate Your Wealth. I'm Casey Elkins, joined by Marc Stimpson. We are co-founders and managing partners at Elevated Financial Management right here in Seattle, helping folks just like yourself retire and stay successful in their retirement. Right now, we're going to talk about, do you have enough money to retire? We found this article on Market Watch, and we think it's so valuable because it's a question that we get a lot. It's one that we see from our viewers and our listeners regularly. When we teach retirement classes at the local colleges, we get this type of question: have I saved enough to retire? And I'll give you a preview. It really depends. So let's start with this. Here's the title of the article. It says, "I'm tired of corporate America. My wife and I have saved $1.65 million. I'm 61. Can I retire?" How would you answer that, Mark?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, right? We don't know until we get a lot more information about this specific situation, because we say this all the time. It boils down to your cash flow needs, right? How much do you want on a guaranteed basis in retirement? Now, this person, fortunately, the wife is going to have a pension. That is ginormously important, right? Pensions have gone away. I think about a recent client that is in our shop now, in our office. He's become a client, and he has a monster pension. He was a firefighter and a police officer, and we were actually blown away by how big his pension was. You know, when you start getting over a $200,000 pension every year, I mean, that solves a lot of concern and a lot of what ifs and a lot of I'm just going to stress about my money, right? He doesn't have that. The problem is the bulk of us, and the major amount of you listening today and watching, that's not the case, right? We're not going to have a pension. I know I don't have a pension. Casey's not going to have a pension. So for most of us, unless you work for the federal government or some state government, you're not going to have a pension, right? And so how do we replace that? So this person, the wife's going to have a pension. So then we're going to factor in their Social Security into that, right? That's a major stool on our three-legged stool when it comes to how much income they're going to have. So again, each situation is very, very unique to you. Now, at over 1.6 million saved up, that's a pretty decent number, right?
That's great, yeah.
And for most people, that could very conceivably be enough. But if you want 80,000, 90,000, or 100,000 or more of guaranteed income, it might not be, right? And we don't know that. But we would put together a plan, because really this type of planning for everyone watching today, it boils down to math. It really is that simple. You've got to have enough money to stretch over a lifetime. The problem that a lot of planners don't take into consideration is what we could call longevity risk, right? And where people plan for a 20 or 25-year retirement, now you better be thinking about a 30 to 40-year retirement, because that could easily happen. People are living longer and longer today. So do you have a plan that's going to allow your money to grow and be able to spend over possibly a 40-year retirement lifespan? That's an issue that if you don't address, you could run out of money.
You know, I appreciate what you said, Mark, and I'm in agreement, right? It really comes down to what the outflow is, right? So 1.65 million, great nest egg. 6 million, great nest egg. $1 million, great nest egg, right? But it all depends on how much you want out of it. If you have 1.6 saved and you say, guys, I want $150,000 a year, that's probably not going to happen, right? So it ultimately depends on what you're trying to get out of it and the lifestyle that you want to live in retirement. And that's why we always come back to the idea that this is unique to you, your individual circumstance, and that the plan has to be unique to you as well. Now, there's something that we see a lot with these types of questions. Oftentimes, we'll see the response in the articles that we read and things like that. The response is, well, you're 61, you should at least wait till 65 so that you can get your Medicare covered. And, think you're going to miss out on 4 years of good income. And so they almost kind of give the advice to not retire, quote unquote, early at 60 or 61 because of the Medicare costs, or medical costs, I should say, or because of the lost potential earnings. And I'll say that, and I think you agree with me on this, Mark, I really take exception to that, right? Because ultimately, if that's built into your plan, that's okay, right? If that's built into the plan, it can be all right to retire early. And again, it depends on how much income you want. But if we kind of take that tact where we say, well, you're in your highest earning years, you don't want to retire now, that's probably going to continue for 10 or 15 more years,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So it becomes, well, I'm 61. Let's push retirement to 65 because these are my highest earning years. Well, then you get to 65 and it's, well, let's push it to 67 because these are my highest. Then let's push it to 70. Let's go to 75. Yeah. Now, if you love your job, right, that's different, right? If you love what you do, and Mark, I think I can speak for you on this, you love what you do.
Yes.
You love helping people. You love being in the office with us, and it's great, right? And so you continue to work because you enjoy it. But if, for our viewers at home, if you are thinking, I don't love what I do anymore, I want to get out, this is the time to have the conversation. This is your opportunity to get that written financial plan, and it's something that we all think, or we think, needs to be addressed for everybody, right?
Yeah. You know, this is something that is a big concern for us because, again, if we just keep pushing out, like you mentioned, Casey, we don't end up possibly doing things during our go-go years that we could have done. Then all of a sudden you waited. Now your health changes. How'd that work out for you? Right? So again, with a plan, we love to see people retiring as early as possible, right? I know that, again, if you have a job you love like I do, working with Casey, being able to help people, we see the wonderful things that can be done with a true plan, right? We've got clients now all over the world that have, their plan is working because they have guaranteed income. The key to everything is what we call the green money, the money in the green bucket, right? It creates guaranteed income that now, because of no pensions, is so critical to making a successful retirement happen. That is got to be the bedrock for true retirement planning. You've got to have a guaranteed income source that you can count on each and every month.
That's exactly right. That income is so important. And again, we've said this before, we'll say it again. People get caught up in the idea of a large account value. And while that is nice because that might create more income, the end result or the end goal remains the same. It's ultimately to create the income, right? So you can take your statement into McDonald's and it says you got $1 million in your 401k. Ask them for a cheeseburger. They're not going to give it to you. You have to turn that money into income. And so that is what the retirement plan helps you to do. So Mark, could you share with our audience what they can expect, what that conversation looks like when they come into the office to meet with us?
Yeah, please, if you've been watching today, I want you to just pick up the phone, give us a call at 844-342-7142, because if you do that, we're going to look at your specific tax situation. We're going to also talk about Medicare and Social Security like we've been talking about during this show. What about how do you want to move money to your children? That and so much more, and leave your checkbook at home. So if you've saved at least $250,000 or more, maybe you're retiring from Boeing or recently retired from any of the other great companies in the Pacific Northwest, give us a call. Let us help. Call 844-342-7142.
Thanks again, Mark. For our audience at home, we love having you with us. We appreciate you tuning in each and every week to talk about the retirement topics that matter to you. Please come back next week right here to Elevate Your Wealth, where we'll address more retirement concerns.